health journey. You want more confidence. My summer pool book. I mean, I realize that around the pool, like you're supposed to be reading like chick lit and stuff like that. I'm not. I'm reading about intermittent fasting. There was fasting. There was something about it that was really wonderful for me because my doctor was the first person who had ever mentioned intermittent fasting. It was the first time I ever heard the words, and it was from my actual physician who was suggesting it for me. But he talks over my head, and I tell him he does, and he does not care because he gets paid really well. And it was Jen Stevens who was the first person who ever wrote what intermittent fasting was in a way that I could understand it. And I have loved her and appreciated her very, very much for that. If you've had any questions about intermittent fasting, today is a day you are going to want to, like I am, pick up your journal and your pen and get ready to make notes because Jen Stevens is here with us today. Jen, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so glad that you're here.
Well, thank you so very much. It's great to meet you face to face here, and I'm so glad that you enjoyed Fast Feast Repeat.
I enjoyed it so very much. I have so many questions for you, and I'm sorry that I haven't done Delay, Don't Deny. What's the difference in your two books?
Well, I wrote Delay Don't Deny in 2016 after I'd lost over 80 pounds and kept it off. And I was running some Facebook communities at the time, and people kept joining and randomly, like they came out of nowhere. I'm like, well, hello. And they wanted to know how to get started. And there wasn't a book out there that really explained how to get started. And so I just wrote Delay Don't Deny and self-published it quickly as a way to get it out there for people who wanted to start intermittent fasting. Well, then time went on. I continued to run those intermittent fasting support groups. They got bigger and bigger before we got to over 500,000 members in the groups combined. And then actually before we got to half a million, I knew we needed a different book because we kept learning more over time. Mm-hmm. As the groups grew and grew, science was moving forward. We were learning new information. I had better information to share because we basically were crowdsourcing how intermittent fasting worked, if you want to think about it that way, because we had all these real life people going through it and adding to our knowledge. And so I wrote Fast Feast Repeat, and it is not self-published. I was very happy to be able to work with a traditional publisher, which means that it's available everywhere you get books, and people, tend to take a traditionally published book more seriously for whatever reason. Yeah. But I was able to put the extra years of my knowledge from 2016 when I wrote Delay Don't Deny till, I finished writing Fast Feast Repeat in late 2019, and it went on sale mid 2020, but it just had, all those years more of information. So, we call it the comprehensive guide to Delay Don't Deny intermittent fasting because it's really all there. There's a frequently asked questions section in the back that really covers everything we ask, because when you have 500,000 people in Facebook groups, they ask you really everything.
Everything.
And what the questions are, because every day, my background, the reason that I was able to write a book that helped you understand something is because I taught elementary school for 28 years. And mm-hmm. So every day was like a brand new day in the elementary school, and the kids asking you the same question 1,000 times. I'm like, little Freddie just asked that 1 second ago. But you had to every day act like it was the first time you ever heard that question. And that was really what it was like in the Facebook groups too. So that's why we have such a comprehensive frequently asked questions section in the back of Fast Feast.
Yeah, which I love and came in so handy. And I'd be like, mm-hmm. Oh, look, me and Cheryl had the same question. Okay, that's great.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. For those who may be, which I'm looking at the comments coming through, and it doesn't seem to be a ton of people who don't even know what intermittent fasting is. I think that's because it really is kind of becoming a little bit of a viral phrase, and people are hearing it more and asking questions. But mm-hmm. I still want from your mouth and from your mind for you to explain, I call it the elevator pitch, what right. intermittent fasting is for those who have no clue.
Well, it sounds really scary. The word fasting is in there. And so you're like, are you going to have to be like Jesus and fast for 40 days and 40 nights in the desert? No, I eat every single day. Uh-huh. I love food. In fact, intermittent fasting really is, if you love food the way that I do, it's definitely the approach that you want to follow. I like to call it the health plan with the side effect of weight loss, because it's really, as your doctor told you, a very healthy way to live. Basically, it means that you take a period of the day where you are not eating. I mean, you wake up in the fasted state. We're all doing it. Even people who are like, wow, that sounds scary. You're not eating all night long unless you're a newborn baby. You go to bed, you sleep, you wake up in the morning, and you're in the fasted state. And so with intermittent fasting, you just extend that. You do not, put your feet on the floor and run eat breakfast. You wait to break your fast. Breakfast. I eat breakfast every day. I might not eat it till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when you break your fast. So you break your fast later in the day. Maybe you break your fast at noon. It doesn't have to be 3. But you just have all of your eating for the day instead of from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed. You just compress it in what we call an eating window. And that's really it. Now, and that's really it. Now, at first, when you get started, your body's going to have to adjust to it. You're not used to going so long in the waking hours without fueling your body. But, something funny happens after your body adjusts. Your body realizes you've got a lot of fuel already right there on your body to be used for energy. And, our modern lifestyle of eating all the time has really trained us to all be, basically sugar burners. You're living on your blood glucose, the blood glucose roller coaster. That's why you get hangry, when you're on a traditional diet and you're eating tiny little diet meals. You wake up in the morning, you eat your tiny little breakfast, and you have your tiny little snack. And so you're just up and down all the time. Your blood sugar crashes, you're hungry again, you eat again. It's just a constant cycle. But with intermittent fasting, you train your body to be metabolically flexible, meaning that once your body is adjusted, it learns how to re-tap into your fat stores. Again, that's why they're there. And they're kind of locked away in the modern lifestyle with all the eating and the diet sodas and the latte at your fingertips all the time. We're keeping our fat locked away. So when you do intermittent fasting, you're finally able to tap into that stored fuel source that we've got in our bodies, and you actually feel great. That's the part that's the most surprising for people who have never done it. I didn't make this quote up, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but most diets that you do are easy in contemplation, but hard in execution. Like, let's say you're going to start Weight Watchers for the 90th time. You're like, it sounds so easy. You're counting your points. It's so easy, right? You're going to count calories or whatever diet you're going to do. And you start this diet but it's hard in execution. Well, intermittent fasting is the opposite of that. It sounds really hard, but it's easy in execution. Once you let your body adjust, you're no longer fighting that. Should I eat? Should I not? I bet your listeners like me, I was on that diet roller coaster. I was obese. I weighed 210 pounds in 2014, and I was struggling with my weight. I would yo-yo up, I would yo-yo down, and I tried everything, literally anything that came out prior to 2014. I tried it. Injecting yourself with HCG, which may or may not be made from horse pee. I did it. Got it from the doctor. Diet pills, did it. Got it from the doctor. If you get it from the doctor, it's supposed to be good. But instead, all that did was trap me on that cycle of weight gain, weight loss. It wasn't until I fully embraced intermittent fasting as a lifestyle in 2014 that I was able to lose the weight without yo-yoing for the first time ever. Lost the weight, went on to lose, my initial goal was to lose 75. I lost over 80, and I've maintained it since 2015 when I hit my initial goal weight. And, I'm 51. I've been through menopause as an intermittent faster now. I'm on the other side of the menopausal transition, still maintaining my weight.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I've got questions about, I'm not in menopause yet because you are so much older than me, but I have questions about that too. It's interesting though, Jen, because when we were growing up, what we heard was 3 square meals a day.
Right.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And you still hear that sometimes, but
you do.
Something happened in the early 2000s, and then it became 6 small meals a day. And that was really the best thing to do because that kept your metabolism going. And I just would like to say, for those of you who are watching today, I am living proof of both. My body is living proof of both 3 square meals and 6 small meals. And look where it's gotten me. I mean, we've all tried that. And
Right.
then you've got intermittent fasting, which really just is so in opposition to all of the things that we've always been taught. I mean, getting up and not eating breakfast, what in the world? That just sounds terrible. But this came from my doctor, who said, Melissa, your blood work came back. It looks fine. I want it to look better. I want you to feel better. I want you to live forever. I want you to live as long as you can. And I believe, with all of the research I've done, and he's such a nerd, I mean, he just talks like so high up, but he's done his research. And he said, I am a firm believer in intermittent fasting. That was the first time, like I told you, that I'd ever heard of it. But it just goes against everything we believe and everything that we have heard. We have so many questions coming in. And one of the ones that I know you must get a lot, or maybe it's not so much a question, but you hear it a lot. I would chew my arm off. I just would chew my arm off. I want you to talk about that. But I also want you to talk about the fact that what you talk about specifically is specific to you, is a clean fast.
Right.
You're a firm believer in a clean fast. So some people are on here going, oh, I can do intermittent fasting because you can have bulletproof coffee that's full of things. No, you can't. Not if you do it this way. And so that's caused a lot of people to go, well, then I don't want to do her plan. I don't want to do what she's doing.
Well, first of all, going back to you're going to be hungry and hangry and all of that, I promise you're not if you fast clean. That really is the key, because we want to teach our bodies to tap into our fat stores for fuel. And when you're well fueled, you are not hangry. You're not having that blood sugar roller coaster. You feel great. But the magic really is in the clean fast. A lot of people who have tried other approaches, whether it's bulletproof coffee or, I can drink a diet soda, it actually makes fasting harder. I mean, I wish that wasn't true. I wish that you could have all these delicious, amazing beverages. I wish I could drink diet sodas during the fast. I wish I could have, butter in my coffee. I did all that before I understood the clean fast. I white knuckled it to my eating window open. I struggled. It wasn't until really 2016 when I read the obesity code that it all came together in my head, and I understood why what you consume during the fast really matters. So I want to go over, this is all covered in Fast Feast Repeat. I have a copy beside me. Fast Feast Repeat.
Okay, I'm so glad. So, because people were asking, wait, where can we find her book? That's what it looks like. Now, I couldn't find mine because it's been in the pool so much. All the pages have swelled out to here, so it would look terrible. But Fast Feast Repeat, you can find it on Amazon. At the end of our time today, I'm going to talk to her about her new book coming out. But please go get that right now on Amazon. Guys, I wouldn't lead you astray. I love you. I want what's best for you. Check it out. But I'm sorry to interrupt, but
that's okay.
And I also want to say that the book that you just referred to, the Obesity Code, that's the book that my doctor said, I want you to download this on Audible and I want you to listen to it in your car. And Jen, I thought I was going to have to pull over and take a nap. It was the most boring book I've ever read. I mean, if you have trouble getting to sleep at night, get your copy of the Obesity Code. But it does really explain well what this practice is, and it's really genius. So just wanted to say that. Yeah, keep going.
The whole thing, reading the Obesity Code opened my eyes to why it was not our fault. I mean, of course, we're going to become overweight and obese following the standard dietary advice once you understand insulin. Okay, I'm going to break this down for listeners. We've all heard of insulin mostly through the paradigm of somebody who is diabetic, and so now they have to take insulin because their body doesn't produce insulin. So we heard about it that way. But many people don't understand that insulin does a lot more in the body than just, regulate your blood glucose. It's our storage hormone. And it's also a fancy word that I introduced in Fast Feast Repeat is anti-lipolytic. Insulin is anti-lipolytic, meaning it keeps your body from tapping into fat stores and releasing fat from your fat stores to burn it. So why is that important? Well, when does our body release insulin? Well, it releases insulin, assuming you're not diabetic, your body releases insulin whenever you eat or when your body thinks food is coming in. If your body thinks food is coming in or if food is actually coming in, Your body releases insulin because it has to manage your blood sugar so that your blood sugar stays within, the narrow range that we need it to stay in for, for healthy living. So if you're drinking diet sodas all day and having snacks frequently, your body is pumping out insulin all the time.
Right.
Well, diet sodas, why would that cause your body to, pump out insulin? Because a diet soda has 0 calories. You don't have any blood sugar rise from taking in a 0 calorie diet soda. That's true. It does not cause, your body, it doesn't have sugar in it, but your brain doesn't know that. Our brains are designed to, senses come in, we taste something and our brain knows what's happening. So you taste something sweet like that diet soda, and your brain says, "Oh, we know what a sweet taste means. Glucose is coming in," because all throughout life, that's what's happened. A sweet taste means honey, fruit, whatever, sugar is coming in, something you're going to have your blood glucose go up. So your body pumps out insulin. It's called the cephalic phase insulin response. And our brains have not caught up to, oh, wait, that's that 0 calorie stuff. It's okay. No, that causes metabolic confusion, but it also causes your body to keep pumping out insulin all the time. So what does insulin do? Well, it lowers your blood sugar. So let's imagine you're somebody who's, trying to be good, trying to diet, trying to do what we've been told to do by the diet industry. And so you've bought diet soda because you have been taught that's the better choice.
Right.
So you're sipping it all day. I always had a diet soda by my side. Sometimes it was Zevia because I was trying to have stevia. That was healthy, right? But it still was that sweet taste. So my body was pumping out insulin all the time. If you have, the abdominal obesity, overweight, stomach, I never did for a long, long time. Then all of a sudden I started gaining weight in my midsection. And so I was, had that abdominal obesity when I was 210 pounds. But that is a huge sign of insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is showing that your insulin levels are chronically high. I read a scientific paper that talked about how, we measure A1C as the mark of diabetes and, whether you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, but really we should be taking fasted insulin levels because your fasted insulin level goes up well before your A1C starts to show the signs of insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, and diabetes. So you do not want all of these flavors of food coming in during the fast because when your body releases insulin, it lowers your blood sugar. Now, let's say you're drinking a diet soda, you didn't take in any blood sugar. Now you're going to have that crash. You're going to actually be hungrier than if you had taken in actual sugar because it crashes. Let's say your blood sugar is here, your body releases insulin, lowers your blood sugar. Now you're starving. So all those things that we've been told, all the things that we've been doing are just the wrong thing. So our goal is to keep, we have 3 fasting goals, and that's why we fast clean. The first is to keep insulin low during the fast, so we avoid anything sweet, anything that tastes like food. That would even include 0 calorie herbal teas like apple cinnamon delight or something like that, or a flavored coffee that tastes like vanilla bean. Your body's like, ooh, that's delicious. We're going to need some insulin to manage this. That's what we want to avoid. So keep your insulin low. The second goal for fasting is we want to tap into our stored fat for fuel. So why in the world, if you want to tap into your stored fat for fuel, would you drink a bulletproof coffee?
Right. I know.
Yeah, you don't want to tap into your coffee cup for fuel. You want to tap into your body fat. And so, bulletproof coffee is going to give you a great deal of energy and you might feel great because you're running on that coffee cup full of energy. But it's actually training your body, again, not to need to go to your fat stores because our bodies, I'm not going to say our bodies are lazy, but they're efficient. They're going to go to the quickest fuel source possible. And digging into your fat stores is not the quickest. Right. So that's why, during the adjustment phase, your body might pitch a little fit and, give you that little, oh, I don't want to. And then you get to the other side of the adjustment phase. Now your body's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. But you got to give your body a reason to go to your fat stores for fuel. And the third intermittent fasting goal is to have increased autophagy, which it's a fancy word that we started learning about in 2016. Those of us, laymen, obviously the researchers knew about it, but the Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded based on autophagy research. And it's our body's cellular housekeeping system. It's like recycling and upcycling. And it happens during the fasted state. So when no food or fuel is coming in, it's kind of like, let's say you've got to cook dinner, but you haven't been to the store.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? Well, you hadn't been to the store. You got to rummage around in your pantry and see what's there. What can I use that's here? That's what your body does during fasting. Nothing new is coming in. So it's rummaging around in your pantry of your body, and it can recycle old junky protein cells. It might, things, pathogens even. It goes in there and just starts to rummage around and use up those materials. And so that is really part of why intermittent fasting is so anti-aging and linked to longevity, because our bodies need that time of the day for cellular repair. But imagine if you're following the new and weird advice to eat 6 meals a day, our bodies never have time to rummage around and clean up the junk. And so if you never clean up the junk, it all gets gunked up in there, and your body is obviously gets worse and worse as you age. So what stops autophagy? Well, protein. Taking in protein really halts autophagy. So fasting goal 3, don't take in any protein during the fast. For example, bone broth. A lot of people are like, well, bone broth is a great thing to have while fasting. It is not, because it has protein in it. So you want to fast clean so that you can keep insulin low and tap into your fat stores for fuel and keep autophagy going strong by not having any protein coming in.
And I do remember when I was reading the book and you were talking about the clean fast, I was thinking about all the times that I thought I was fasting. And so instead of having, because, Jen's thing is like, if you want to have coffee, you can have coffee, but it has to be black.
Black coffee, no flavors, no sweeteners, right?
And all of the times that I thought throughout the years I was doing good because I just said no to the breakfast, but I had a coffee with some French vanilla creamer in it. And I thought that was good. But really it was my body going, oh my gosh, get ready. We're about to eat. And it's having the opposite. I might as well just have had the breakfast.
Right. And you were hungrier because you had the creamer. Yes. That's the thing. You were hungrier because you had it than you would have been had you skipped it and just had the black coffee. And that's the part that people are like, oh, once they adjust to the clean fast and get through that adjustment phase. A lot of people who think they've done fasting before and it didn't work for them. Like I meet, people all the time. And of course, before the pandemic, I would talk to them and, I'd meet new people and tell them about intermittent fasting. And they're like, oh, I tried that. It didn't work. And I'm like, what were you drinking? Mm-hmm. And they all were drinking, oh, I would have, a Gatorade Zero or something. And then I would have, and I'm like, that's why it didn't work for you. And that's why it was so hard. The one thing we hear in our community over and over and over again is, oh, the clean fast really does make a difference. People didn't want to believe it. They didn't want to, they wanted to hold on to that belief. I saw a YouTube video that said it was okay to have whatever. And I'm like, I promise, take the clean fast challenge and try it and you will never go back. And that really is what we found. That's why I'm so insistent. That's like the one non-negotiable. If you're going to fast clean. But you need to know why. Go ahead.
Right. I want to, so many questions are coming in, but I will say to all of the questions coming in, someone just said, guys, y'all are asking so many questions and they're all answered beautifully in her book. I mean, we don't have time to answer all of the questions that are coming in, but I know you can get that book on Amazon and you will be so glad you did. But I feel like why we have her here with us, and I also VIPs, she will be in that backstage VIP room with us. So that's going to be awesome. We get to ask her some really specific questions. I want to explain, or rather you explain, that intermittent fasting, when we say an eating window, that means, I want you to explain what that means. And the second part of that question is, should different body types have different eating windows? How do we find what is best for us?
That's a great question. And if you read Fast, Feast, Repeat, I have a very important part in there called the 28-day fast start. And y'all have my permission to turn right to that chapter and read it first. You can get it right on your Kindle right now or whatever e-reader you like and go straight to that chapter and read the 28-day fast start first, because I'm going to walk you through. There are 3 different approaches that you can follow to how you want to, train your body during the adjustment phase. One where you're kind of easing in a little bit more, one that's kind of in the middle, and one that's rip off the Band-Aid. And so, you're focused on, for the first 28 days, you're nailing the clean fast, and that's it. and you're gradually adjusting your eating window. You're not starting on day one with, a 20-hour fast. That if you try to do too much at once, you crash and burn. We've all been there. We know that. So we want to ease in. We want to ensure success. And if you start too strong, you can ease back. It's your approach that works for you. And so I am not the person that's going to say exactly what to do and when to do it, because we're all different. Even when it comes to the timing of our eating window, the majority of the people in our community have an afternoon to evening eating window, but that doesn't mean that that's the right time for you. I have a good friend. She's still one of the moderators in my Facebook community, and she has a morning eating window. She wakes up in the morning, has a morning eating window, closes her eating window, goes about her day, feels fabulous. That doesn't work for me, because once I open my eating window, I'm like eating. So I have trouble closing my eating window. And so that, for me, I close my eating window by going to bed and not eating during the night. So once I open my eating window, it's open. So you learn, I know yesterday you talked to someone with intuitive eating. And, I didn't hear that conversation, of course, but I really think that, I read all the intuitive eating books and I embraced the mindset of intuitive eating, but could never make it stick for me, because when I ate all day, I was trapped on that blood sugar roller coaster. Again, I didn't hear my hunger and satiety signals. The whole premise of your body will tell you when you've had enough. Well, my body did not tell me when I had had enough. Or your body will tell you when you're hungry. My body always told me I was hungry. This was pre-intermittent fasting. Yeah, all the time, because now I understand why, because the blood sugar roller coaster, maybe if someone is healthy and they don't have insulin resistance, they've not struggled with it, yo-yo dieted, maybe you can just listen to your body, but I could not. The period of time when I got to be 210 pounds, I was really trying to be an intuitive eater. But if I asked myself, are you hungry? The answer was always yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I full? No. And so when I started intermittent fasting, I had that eating window as a structure for my day, and that really helped. But a magical thing happened over the years. I am now an intuitive eater within my intermittent fasting window.
Okay, that my biggest question for you, because oh my gosh, I want to talk to you about this over queso. But anyway,
I love queso. I will have queso.
I wanted to ask, because I feel, now this is for me, this is not for everybody, so please don't even write this down, ladies, because it might not be for you, but I feel for me that what my mind and my heart are creeping towards is a lifestyle of intermittent fasting. And then when my window is open and I can eat, it's intuitive eating. That doesn't mean, man, I haven't eaten today, so it's Reese's for the next 4 hours. But it is going, I have not eaten today. I feel amazing. And I can hear my body better now.
Right.
Tell me what it is I'm actually hungry for. So I want to combine the two. And it's interesting to me to hear you say that you've done that.
Well, because it happened naturally. I got back in tune with my hunger and my satiety signals over time. And one thing that is true, I still eat queso, I still eat chocolate. But when I open my window and have highly nutritious foods, and I didn't change anything that I was eating for a long, long time until my body naturally wanted to do that. But real food helps you feel satisfied. I could eat chips and queso until the kitchen was out of chips and queso, and I would have a hard time, having the I'm done signal. But if I also at that same restaurant order a veggie fajita and some beans on the side, now I'm getting the vegetables in there, and I'm going to feel satisfied, and it's easier for me to hear that I've had enough signal. So throwing in nutritious foods in there, that really is a key, because our bodies do not count calories. This is the part that really is fascinating when you study, hunger and satiety and what we're eating. Our bodies do not understand, just calories. If you ate 2,000 calories of chips and queso, your body's going to feel really different than if you ate 2,000 calories of vegetables. Your body's going to tell you you've had enough. Our bodies don't count calories, they count nutrients. So when you're putting in nutrients, your body is like, okay, I got what I needed. And that's really important. I literally eat whatever I want, but what I want has changed, and I also want to feel good. So we went last week and had Mexican food at a really great local restaurant. We had chips and queso, and then I had some delicious, tacos that were satisfying, and some beans, and I had some corn. And then by the end of that meal, I was satisfied and felt great. And my body was like, oh, you've had enough. So you finally can hear the message to stop eating. So I would really encourage everyone, to approach it that way. Trust your body. Now, when you're in that adjustment phase, your body's going to tell you lies.
Right.
You're because you're not going to be well fueled during the fast.
How long?
Well, it depends. I have the 28 days as the rough estimate for you, because 28 days is a good amount of time to really let your body adjust. And most people find they can, but it really depends. If you've got a lot of insulin resistance and you've battled with your weight for years, it might take your body longer. It might take 6 weeks. It might take 8 weeks. And it's time to be patient with your body, because, we didn't get into the mess. I didn't become 210 pounds in 28 days. And so I certainly did not reverse the damage in 28 days. It takes a long time. So what we find with a lot of people is they get off to that really slow start. Now, you might lose a great deal of inflammation at the very beginning when you start intermittent fasting, but then, you're not going to see great weight loss. I encourage people to not expect any weight loss during the first 28 days. Expect zero weight loss. In fact, you might even gain a little weight because you're not well fueled during the fast. You might overeat during your eating window because you're starving, because your body's not well fueled. But over time, things will start to normalize. You'll start to feel better. Your body will adjust. Your eating will naturally get in check. You'll become more intuitive. You'll focus on getting some nutrients in there, also with the other foods that you love. Then the magic starts to happen.
I want to say this. We're running short on time, and I have 3 specific questions that I want you to answer really, really quickly, because I'm going to know there's going to be way more questions in the VIP area backstage. But David and I did intermittent fasting towards the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
We did it because I read it that summer. And so I said, I think we probably started it in late August, and we did it religiously for about 4 or 5 months until the holidays, right?
Right.
And I can attest to this. It does take about 28 days, but when that party is over, it is like an energy level, an energy boost that I did not know my body could have. It felt
right.
It felt a bit euphoric because you just could get so much done, and you were doing it on an empty stomach. It just didn't make any sense to me. I lost weight. It was successful for me. It worked for me. Now, I am a person who was diagnosed with PCOS a long time ago, so I know that I'm insulin resistant. Right. I know that's, they said that maybe had reasons to do with infertility issues for me. And I know that literally intermittent fasting has reversed that in some people. They've even seen reversals of that. My questions for you that came in, is it breastfeeding friendly? Number 1.
No.
It is not. Okay.
No. And this is important to understand. There's a lot more going on in today's modern world than in the past. My new book that's coming out, I just got the date yesterday from my publisher. It's January 4th of 2022, or it's expected. It's called Cleanish-ish.
Cleanish. I love it.
And the subtitle, let's see if I can get the subtitle right out of the top of my head. Eat mostly clean, live mainly clean, and unlock your body's natural ability to self-clean. And so, of course, if we fast, we're going to fast completely clean, but it's not an intermittent fasting book. But the point of my new book, Cleanish, is that just have so many chemical things going on in today's world that we didn't have for so long ago. And one thing that our bodies do, they store toxins in fat cells. That's just a fact. Our bodies store toxins in fat cells if we don't know what to do with them. So when you're breastfeeding your baby, you do not want to be losing fat at a fast rate, because your body is going to be dumping out those toxins. I actually read that in a breastfeeding textbook. I'm not making this up. In this breastfeeding textbook, they suggest not to do any big fat loss plan while you're breastfeeding, because your body is going to dump out those toxins. Now, our bodies are not designed to have all these toxins, because in the real world, thousands of years ago, people were just living, right?
Mhm.
But now we've got chemicals all around us. You know, babies are being born with chemicals in their cord blood. I mean, it's shocking. The research that I did, like, really, I mean, you know, we all have heard this, but how do we apply it to our lives? So
Yeah.
it really is a big deal. Do not, and it's not just about your milk supply or can you grow a healthy baby. It's because you just really don't want to be burning a lot of fat.
Okay.
In this modern era, it's the modern world.
Okay. How do you feel about diabetics doing it?
Well, you know, Dr. Jason Fung, who wrote the Obesity Code, had a follow-up book called the Diabetes Code, and he is actually reversing type 2 diabetes in his patients because type 2 diabetes is a disease of too much insulin. Very much like, you know, type 1 diabetes is a disease of not enough insulin, so you have to take insulin. With type 2 diabetes, it starts with the whole hyperinsulinemia and having too much insulin. He explains this really well in the Diabetes Code. And so, you know, obviously, if someone has type 2 diabetes and it goes on and on and on, eventually their pancreas requires support, and then they also become insulin dependent over time. But really, if you're not at that stage, if you're even if you are at that stage, if your pancreas is still functioning, you want to get your insulin levels down, and that can reverse type 2 diabetes. We have so many people in our community who, you know, were, based on their A1C and everything, they were diagnosed as type 2 diabetic. And then, I mean, I don't know, some people say, well, it's not reversible, so they're just calling it in remission or something, but they have normal A1C levels after living an intermittent fasting lifestyle.
Okay.
So
That's wonderful to hear. Somebody on here said, it was an exchange that happened like 25 minutes ago, but a woman said, what about if I'm, type 2 diabetes? And another woman said, I was too. And intermittent fasting actually reversed it for me.
exactly.
And the other woman wrote back, and the other woman wrote back,
It sounds crazy. But in Fast Feast Repeat, I talk about this. Jason Fung, again, the Obesity Code and the Diabetes Code, he had a case study published in a medical journal where he had, you know, he describes it's a medical journal. I'm not, you know, we're not just making it up from what people told us, right? This is real science. He followed some of his patients who were insulin dependent type 2 diabetics, and they reversed it and did not need to take insulin anymore. I mean, this is pretty bold science coming out, because again, the conventional wisdom has been we can't reverse it. It's chronic, it's progressive, it gets worse, and then, you know, you just have all these health problems, and then that's just, oh well, here, take more insulin. And turns out the key is not that we need more insulin. The key is we have too much already. We need to lower it naturally, and then our bodies can stop that whole insulin resistant cycle that we find ourselves in. I'm pretty sure I was insulin resistant when I was 210 pounds.
Yeah. There are still questions coming in, and guys, I would take the time to ask every single one. If I knew for a fact her book didn't answer them, but I know for a fact it does. And so many of you have already just said, oh, I just added it to my cart. Oh, I just bought it. So Jen, would you hold the book up one more time?
Yes, I will.
Fast Feast Repeat. And
Fast
you
Feast Repeat.
Screenshot that right now, and you can get that on Amazon. But I am also so pumped for January 4th for Clean-ish. What a great title.
Thank you.
Because that's what I want to be. Clean, but
right.
Clean-ish.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I still want to enjoy life. And so I'm so excited about that book. But here's what I also want our listeners to know. If they want to know more about you, how can they find you? And I know that you recently kind of moved offline, which we're in the process of doing the same thing. But how can they find you if they want to follow you?
Well, jenstevens.com, there's the website right there on the screen. And I have a link. I have a new community as well, you know, just because Facebook had some things, you know, the artificial intelligence, and I could go on and on and on about that. And this is completely not political reasons. It's just because of the, you know, Facebook. We're guests in Facebook's home, right? And so the group could disappear, right?
We're moving to a new app because we feel like, well, we're living on someone else's real estate. We don't want to put everything we own in their real estate.
That's what really happened for me, because, like, for example, you know, groups can get shut down at any time. Like, a friend of mine had a friend who had like a cooking group, some kind of cooking group. She woke up one morning and then she had like 10,000 people in the cooking group. She woke up one morning, the group was gone, had been shut down, and she was banned from Facebook over something that happened overnight while she was asleep. Some kind of something happened and it caused the group to be shut down and she got banned from Facebook. She lost all contact with those 10,000 people. And this is a cooking group. I don't think it was a hotbed for, whatever.
Right.
But, I started to realize hearing stories like that, intermittent fasting, what if Facebook decided intermittent fasting was dangerous? Because in the fall, they started cracking down on health groups. And they might decide intermittent fasting is not something, because there's some fasting groups where they're in there doing like 30-day fast, and we're not about all that. But there might be some truth to that. So I just wanted to take control of my community and not risk losing it. So I built a different platform. It's the Delay Don't Deny social network. There's a link to it from jenstevens.com. And, I'm supporting members there through the 28-day fast start. And I have a group. We have all these groups you can join once you're in it. And the Ask Jen group, you can ask me a question at any time and I will answer it. It's a lot easier than trying to answer questions from 500,000 people on Facebook, which kept me awake all night long.
And people are asking if you have podcasts, and she has two podcasts, I believe.
I have three.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, tell them that. I'd love for them to tune into those.
Well, if you first want to probably go look for intermittent fasting stories, and there are over 150 out right now. I record them all the time, so I've recorded way more than are actually out. But there's about 150 out right now. Anywhere you listen to podcasts on the Delay Don't Deny social network, you can listen to them ad free. You can stream them right there on our platform in the membership community. But intermittent fasting stories, every week I feature a different intermittent faster who tells their story, and you might think, well, how could everybody have an interesting, different story? It's amazing. Even though we all have certain commonalities, we all have something different that we bring to our story. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to bring these podcasts to the world. I also have the Intermittent Fasting podcast with co-host Melanie Avalon, where we answer listener questions about intermittent fasting. We've been doing that one since 2017, so lots of episodes there. And my latest podcast venture is with my friend Sherry Bullock. It's called Life Lessons. And it is not about intermittent fasting. It's really about just everything else.
Okay. I'm so happy to have you here today. Thank you so much for being willing to stay over and extra and answer some questions in the VIP. You'll love them. They're wonderful. They're goofy. You'll love them. They're great.
I'm goofy too, so I like that.
But I love having you, and everyone is just so amazed. One woman wrote, "I can't believe I'm listening to Jen Stevens talk right now," and so they're just all so happy that you're here. We are going to give Jen now a break. Now, David's going to mute her and remove her off the screen so she can go to the restroom and get some water and do whatever she needs to do before she comes back. But thank you, Jen. And I want to give you your heart work for today. I know we've gone a little bit long, but I want to give you your heart work, and you're going to love it. Are you ready? You're going to love it, because that today is one of we're wrapping this up. We're wrapping this part up, but we're not wrapping up the area of community. We are not. Now, if you go to jenstevens.com and you decide that you want to look at some of her things, you'll notice that her communities are going to look a lot like Burn Your Boats. Her